Chapter 36. Sorry, I forgot that you have an illness. Lisa's thinking went blank at that time. It was only when she got seated in the chopper that she startled from her trance. Lisa was stunned. As she gazed at the big equipment, she could not help but question, Why are we going to the hospital like this? James mumbled from beside her. It's too far. This is faster. Lisa glanced at him. Actually, my injury isn't in need of such urgent attention. James glanced at her with a completely tranquil expression. But you must know that I have other things to do tomorrow morning. If we travel there, it will take 1 hour, and getting back will take 1 hour. By the time we reach home, it will probably be dawn. The helicopter will be there in about 10 minutes, so be prepared. All right. Lisa glanced at James. She thought to herself, this was precisely the way the rich dealt with things. She had to get used to it. As anticipated, they arrived. On the upper level of the hospital about 10 minutes later, James refused to let her move and carried her down first. He carried her all the way in before putting her down. While the doctor was examining her, Lisa felt slightly guilty. The doctor asked, What kind of pain are you feeling? It's just hurting faintly. She tightened her skin, not daring to look at James, who was standing to the side. She didn't want to meet his eyes. The doctor took a look and remarked, Miss Lisa, your wound isn't inflamed and there aren't any other symptoms either, so the pain may be psychological. Don't be overly stressed. Think of other things. Perhaps you won't feel the anguish anymore. The doctor had no option either. He could only provide such a diagnosis. Lisa nodded her head vigorously. So that's why it hurts. As James was observing from the side, Lisa instantly flashed a fawning smile. James's deep black eyes changed dramatically before he frowned at her. But he nonetheless said to the doctor, To be on the safe side, we'll still stay here for 1 night. Lisa could only agree. The room was still the same kind of intensive care room as earlier. James had made preparations at the entrance, and exactly as he had imagined, if they had brought the helicopter here and gone through the complete experience, it would already be early morning. Lisa sat there guiltily. She glanced at James's little lips pushed firmly into a line. The creases of his jaw likewise followed suit, tightening forcefully. He seemed as cold as ice and exceedingly difficult to approach. Against her volition, her heart raced quicker in her chest. When she saw him come back to glare at her coldly, she quickly flashed a toady smile. It has been hard on you. Go to sleep quickly. James glared at her before sitting down. Lisa responded frantically. James, come over here. I want to talk to you. James snorted and sat there unaffected. Lisa steeled her mind and came down the bed directly. But when she slipped down and her heels reached the ground, her thigh was strained and she began to suffer as well. She groaned as she held onto her thigh and nearly toppled. James's eyes darkened. Tossing everything else aside, he hurriedly walked over in a few steps. He put his arms out beneath her armpits and carried her directly. Lisa, why did you move recklessly for no reason? James was horrified. He had been so surprised by her prior deeds that his heart had practically jumped out of his chest. Lisa was certainly hurting. Her brows were furrowed, and as the light shone on her, her small face crumpled up slightly. James held her up and stabilized her. When he turned his head, his lips brushed against her earlobe. Her smooth and fragile earlobe even had some small hairs on it. The fine hairs reflected the light shining on them and looked incredibly adorable. This instantly screwed up his cognitive process, and in response, he frowned and wanted to let rid of the ugly woman. But just as he was going to let her go, Lisa pulled his arm with both hands. James, stop being mad, she urged softly and lovingly. She glanced at him with a clear glance, her expression particularly aggravating his protectiveness. But James's gaze lingered to rest on her ear thoughtfully. As he stared at her rounded, silky, and small ear, he got the insane impulse to suck it for some inexplicable reason. Had his disease already started growing in the perverse direction? Why would his whole body boil up only staring at her small ear? He felt her hand still resting on his arm. The portions that she had touched heated up even more, driving him to feel so irritated that he wanted to shrug her off. Let go of me. Lisa! His expression started to darken even more. Seeing this, Lisa got more concerned. "Don't be angry, James." "Hubby, don't be furious, don't be angry. When a married couple quarrel, shouldn't they eventually reconcile? Don't be furious anymore." Lisa had truly put all of her skills to play as she attempted to soften this gruff man. However, James's expression did not improve. The original gloominess on his face was now tinged with some red instead. It seemed as if he was terribly angry, and it concerned Lisa so much that her voice went slightly weaker. Hubby, don't be angry, on account of me being so unhappy that I can't get down from the bed." She hugged one of his arms with both her hands. Like a young child, she pouted with her eyes and looked sorrowful as she shook his arm from side to side. As James listened to her more calm voice, he looked down at the arm that she was shaking. If he were to backhandedly grip her hands and force her directly into the bed at this moment, she would actually tumble underneath him. He desperately resisted this impulsion that grew in his chest. But this dirty girl, couldn't she sit motionless for a bit and not swing around? Her swaying made his eyes all dizzy. "Lisa," I said, "let go of me. Do you not understand?" Feeling sad, James roared fiercely. Lisa took a glimpse at him. Was he actually enraged now? Immediately, she loosened both her hands, but she lost her equilibrium and soon fell backward. Seeing this, James put his hand out and wrapped it around her waist. However, he was pushed down by her velocity. Facing the direction in which she was falling, he fell down together with Lisa. Lisa's eyes widened. She felt his delicate, thin lips crush roughly on her mouth. That gorgeous face swelled before her eyes, his cheeks flushed slightly scarlet. Lisa felt an ache in her chest. She looked down only to see his chest pressing on hers. Instantly, her face went crimson red also. This time, James could definitely feel her breasts on his chest. However, he looked at Lisa and immediately rolled to the side and rapidly detached himself from her body. His moves were as fast as lightning. Lisa's pulse was still racing without rest due of the sudden tight contact he was in earlier. Seriously, it was unbelievable. She almost got the urge to kiss him earlier. Was she crazy? Her mouth was on the edge of slipping closer to his. Was it because she had spent a long time together with him that it was impossible for her to resist the lure of his beauty? Indeed, James was pretty handsome and quite appealing. Even the way he went down earlier was absolutely wonderful. The perky form of his lips was extremely alluring, yet his heart belonged to someone else. Lisa would never resort to physical force to remove someone else's affections. In addition, James's first reaction was obviously one of disdain. Suddenly, she drew a palm over her lips and recalled that he had an allergy to women. It is understandable why he felt the need to push her away earlier. Quickly, Lisa lifted her chin. "No way, James, I apologize. Earlier I didn't mean to. For a moment, I failed to remember that you are sick. That's why I dragged you and refused to let go." James's countenance darkened, his exquisite features rising slightly. "A casual touch is insignificant. For real? Just..." He glanced at her chest. Unable to resist, he glanced at it again. Lisa followed his eyes, then blushed red. James pulled his slightly scarlet face aside and averted her look. He remarked coolly, "The shape of your breasts is not bad. They're rather lively, so they obviously aren't artificial," he intentionally said in an indifferent tone. What the hell? Chapter 37. The small anticipation of sleeping. On the same bed. Of course, mine are completely natural. Why do I need to do surgery when they're shaped like peaches? They are neither too firm or too soft, and they are of a reasonable size. Furthermore, it's pretty evident if you've done surgery nowadays. If you lie down, you'll shortly be exposed. I'm telling you. They say that after lying down, prosthetic breasts won't get flat because they were created arched. James involuntarily gazed at her breasts again. He aggressively redirected his attention and remarked, "You sure know a lot." "That's a given," Lisa said. "I have a very extensive scope of knowledge." Saying this, Lisa massaged her leg curiously. James remembered that her leg had been hurting earlier and was worried about whether she had touched it. He hastened to say, "All right, Stop moving around and let me have a look at your leg. She sat on the bed while he squatted down halfway. He slipped her pants apart and glanced at her wound. Afraid that it would hurt, he gingerly touched it. How is it? Lisa felt reasonably good and did not really feel anything. It should be fine. It's only that when my foot sits on the ground, it pushes on the wound, so it hurts. James said. Then you should stay still. Lisa thought, wasn't she just anxious earlier? Wasn't it his fault for abruptly neglecting her? James raised his head to look at her, but his focus was still set directly on her chest. He did not realize this in the past, but only now did he instantly sense that her breasts genuinely were pretty appealing after glancing at them from this angle. They were entirely symmetrical mounts, and they appeared round, plump, and lovely. They were neither big nor small and appeared like they were precisely the proper size to hold in each hand. He thought about what she had said about them being in the shape of peaches. It appeared like they genuinely were as she had described. A little curious. He wanted to touch them in the flesh and check whether they truly were as soft as she had promised. His region below his abdomen got hard, and he instantly knew that his body had actually become aroused again. He rose up silently, tensed his face, and turned his head away, wondering what exactly was happening to him. Realizing that his appearance had darkened once more, Lisa assumed that his condition was flaring up again. She stared at him with little alarm and questioned urgently, "Why? James, is there something wrong? Do you need me to call the doctor? If I'd known earlier, I wouldn't have asked you to touch me." This dumb woman. She assumed that he was continually evading her owing of his illness. However, his allergic reaction was secondary right now. His principal ailment was something else. It was something a little unexpected, and it made him somewhat irritable at the moment. He believed that he really wanted to thoroughly interrogate Ryan now and whether his original disease had mutated so that there were other complications. Otherwise, why would he be feeling this way? Not in the mood to bother with this dumb woman, he turned his head and responded, "All right, I'm fine already. Go to sleep." Lisa responded, "Then, can you still share a bed with me tonight? Or, do you want to go out and sleep?" When he glanced at the bed, he felt a little reluctant to leave. It was only after some hesitation that he said, "It's already so late. Where else can I go to sleep? I'll just put up with it for a few hours." Lisa replied with an, "Oh," and made some space for him. It did not matter to her regardless. As long as he did not feel uncomfortable sharing the same bed as her, it was all right. Now she had to consider the feelings of the patient, even though it seemed that she was the one who had arrived to the hospital. Lisa lied down and placed the pillow in the middle again. As James glanced at it, he thought to himself whether the cushion actually served a purpose while it was there. However, he still did not disclose his feelings. He recognized that he actually felt a sensation of little expectation. If she fell asleep and started moving around again, would she suddenly sprawl out across his body? Then he would be able to feel for once what exactly her purportedly peach-shaped breasts felt like. The two of them lay down on the bed together without switching off the light. She laid there fidgeting with her iPhone. When it started ringing, she saw that someone had issued her a friend request on WeChat. When she opened it, she realized to her surprise that it was Nathan. She could not help but be slightly dumbstruck. Still, she hurriedly accepted the request. Once she accepted it, he instantly sent her a message and questioned her. "So you haven't gone to sleep?" Lisa soon said, "Big celebrity Nathan, why did you add me?" Lisa thought, perhaps it was to talk about the scandal. So she queried hastily, "Is this about the scandal? Are you guys going to settle it?" She remembered that Nathan very infrequently had these kinds of rumors. Some persons believed that Nathan was himself strongly opposed to conflicts. Thus, if there were seeds of a rumor, he would begin to repress them. Nathan promptly asked, "Why do I have to deal with the rumors?" Lisa was a little flustered. "Of course you do. Did you not notice how insane they went in constructing a story?" "I saw it." "Then why don't you deal with it?" "Dealing with it is useless. Just disregard it. It'll be all right within a few days." This was somewhat different from Nathan's typical style of doing things. But they're very ridiculous, and they exaggerated it so much. "It's not too good to allow all these rumors go around," Lisa said quickly. But Nathan answered, "I don't even care." Why do you care? Frustrated, Lisa truly wanted to chastise someone. Of course, he did not care because he was not the man being scolded, but she, on the other hand, had been scolded harshly. It shocked her to the extent that she did not dare check her Weibo page. The moment she opened it, there was a tidal wave of curses, each harsher than the one preceding it. No way. Big celebrity Nathan, you must save me. If you don't go out and settle it, this problem will surely continue to worsen, Lisa quickly said. Still, Nathan continued to reply monotonously. How will it worsen? I believe it's pretty good. Nonsense. I've been scolded so harshly. They'll stop after scolding for a few days. No way! Gradually, Lisa had accidentally become incredibly casual when speaking to him. In that case, why don't I post on Weibo tomorrow and say, don't curse at her anymore? If there's anything you would like to say, direct it at me instead. When Lisa saw his statement, she nearly collapsed. Then they'll curse at me even more harshly. Then what do you want me to do? Just say that we're merely friends from the same cast and that we've known each other for a few days. Say that they're merely crafting a story from the photographs and that everything they've stated is a lie. This was the truth. Nonetheless. Surprisingly, Nathan countered by asking, what if we actually meet up later on and these reports leak? We'd be humiliating ourselves, wouldn't we? Excuse me, but I don't see why anyone would want to spend time with you. Obviously, we're not going to be one, rest assured. You will not be hitting yourself, Lisa reassured hastily. Without hesitation, Nathan sent her a crying emoticon via email. Your actions annoy me. When something hurts, it hurts. In any event, you must settle this properly for me. Seriously. How do you know if you'll regret being this heartless to me today in the future? Who knows whether or not you'll suddenly fall for me in the future and passionately desire to marry me? Get lost. That's impossible. Lisa glanced at his response wordlessly. She knew that he was doing this purposely to tease her. He would not address the problem correctly, so she straightforwardly sent him this. Go and die. Don't interrupt my sleep. Thereafter, she just ignored him. Chapter 38. Unexpectedly, he felt disappointed Lisa was in emotional turmoil. She did not know how she could even step out of the house tomorrow. She took one last look at her Weibo. To her amazement, her fan count had soared by tens of thousands in a short time. However, she did not need to think to know that these were probably all haters. Lisa could only sigh and put her phone down. James frowned from the side. If you're going to sleep, don't play with your phone anymore, Lisa said. I just took a glance. I'll sleep soon. She laid on her side, facing James. His eyes were already shut. Even lying down, James's torso was absolutely straight. Every time Lisa glanced at him, she always felt as if he would not move at all in the night. Lisa glanced at his face, which was fully lighted beneath the low, flashing light. Only half of his body was covered by the blanket, so his solidly developed shape was perfectly divided into two sides, one shining and one dark. The bright side sparkled with a bronze-colored sensuality and firmness, yet the black side sparked even more crazy imaginations than the bright side. It looked to be shrouded in a mist of pale, pinkish light. Its extravagance gave rise to a magnificent temptation. When he closed his eyes, his eyelashes appeared even longer in a way that triggered more delicate sympathies. His perfectly sculpted lips were slightly perked up, and his jawline flawlessly outlined his handsome face in its whole, holding it out tautly. Below that lovely face, the Adam's apple on his throat trembled slightly. Further below, his collarbones were in a position where they could be seen well. Even as he lay like this, their form could be plainly observed. Even further below. Lisa moved her head away immediately. This was severely fatal. She felt like she had become little tempted by his looks. Looking at him like this, he was truly fatally sensual. Furthermore, she instantly remembered that this was her spouse. Although they were merely married in name, he was indeed her husband at the very least. The legislation accepted this. However, it was a pity that he had another woman in his heart. She sighed before shifting her body over and lying down correctly. With her nerves jangled, she did not genuinely sleep comfortably. She was half asleep the entire night, but at the very least, she did not move again. Even James was amazed. He had first assumed that she would end up tossing and turning, attacking every single point of his body, but after waiting for quite some time, she did not move 1 inch, to his shock. He had remained awake for quite some time since he had been prepared to be troubled by her, but she did not actually do it. James had no idea how he fell asleep, but he acknowledged that he actually felt a slight sense of disappointment when he finally went asleep. The next day, the two of them returned home in a car. James said, "My family initially wanted to invite you home for a meal." "Ah?" Lisa gazed at him with wonder. With a slow smile, James remarked, "But I've already rejected them." "Oh." She had been scared out of her wits. "Yes, if I go back now, I'll definitely be asked about the scandal. I wouldn't know what to say either, so it's better not to go back." James turned his head and gazed at her, his expression as dark as ink. He sneaked a peek at her before he pursed his lips and turned back. After getting out of the automobile, James headed inside in enormous steps. Lisa could only get into her wheelchair, on her own. When the maid arrived to push her, Lisa raised her head and whispered, "Your sir is so troublesome." The maid grinned dryly, not knowing what she should reply. After Lisa finished tidying up, she rushed to the company. When she saw Sarah, she shouted frantically, "How are things, Sister Sarah? Have they been settled?" The moment Sarah noticed Lisa, she walked over and said, "Yes, you don't need to be so anxious anymore. I saw that the news is being shut down. For the time being, news of you and Nathan are barred from being published again. Yesterday's reports were all taken down too." Lisa exclaimed in amazement. "No way," Sarah said. "It looks like—" Nathan's side took action. "Anyway, our company doesn't have that much power, nor does it have such powerful ties. It couldn't have closed down the news, hence it was likely Nathan's side that did it," Lisa said in a bewildered tone. "But yesterday, Nathan even said not to deal with it." Immediately, Sarah glanced at Lisa in amazement. "When did he say that?" Lisa said, "Yesterday night, on WeChat." You and Nathan even contact each other privately," Sarah said, glancing at Lisa with little excitement. Lisa hastened to add, "Of course not. He just joined my WeChat. It was probably about handling the scandal." Sarah glanced at her as if she was purposefully concealing something. She grinned and added, "You really underestimate Nathan. He doesn't have to deal with these problems directly. He can just give it on to his staff." Is that so?" Of course, Lisa was not like Sarah, who had a strong comprehension of these big superstars in the entertainment world. Sarah added, "Nathan is originally very difficult to get along with. Many people assume that he is tough to approach. Furthermore, he absolutely will not have any contact with rookies." Why is it so different from the Nathan that I know?" Lisa said. "I think he's quite nice, and he has a very amusing way of speaking. He's merely a little sarcastic." Sarah said, "Is that so? Then enjoy it yourself." When she was done speaking, she patted Lisa's arm heavily. Lisa shrugged her shoulders wordlessly. She thought to herself that it was probably because they had not been closely acquainted with him, that they had misunderstandings about him. After all, Sarah had absolutely never been in contact with Nathan before. She had simply inquired around and learned about him. The more these rumors spread about, the more exaggerated they always became. In any event, Lisa thought that this was certainly the doing of Nathan's gang. After all, his team would sooner or later be unable to put up with it, so after considering for a while, Lisa wrote him a WeChat message and said, "I see you've dealt with it. I'm truly sorry about this scandal and appreciate you for being prepared to settle it." Surprisingly, this person, Nathan, seemed to be accessible all the time. His reply had already come up. Lisa saw that he had replied, "What did I settle?" Lisa remarked, "Wasn't it your team that settled the scandal?" "Of course it wasn't. Oh no, what a pity. I still wanted to see it for a couple more days. Now, it's gone?" Lisa actually wanted to puke blood. Go and die. Thank God it has been retracted. So heartless. When she was done texting Nathan, Lisa snorted and put down her phone. But she thought that it was strange. What exactly was going on? On the other hand, on James's side, Ryan bent his head and whispered to James, who was sitting in his executive chair, Sir, we've settled the matter already. The reports have all been removed. Also, in the immediate future, there won't be any more reports issued mentioning Nathan. James reacted tersely in accord. Ryan observed, "In that case, do we need to give a notice to Nathan?" To date, Nathan still did not know Lisa's identity, which was why such a mistake had occurred. James pondered for a moment. Forget it. If he knows, it's uncertain if he'll stir up trouble. Perhaps things will be more serene if he doesn't know. Nathan was the most rebellious of the three brothers, and it was normal for him to do whatever made people angry. Ryan said, "Then if there's anything else, sir, I'll await your instructions again." "Just a moment, please. If you want Nathan to be better behaved, block out news about him for 2 months," James advised. However, James was still hesitant to release him without inflicting some form of punishment. Despite this, Ryan could only respond with a "yes, sir" upon hearing this. After Ryan departed, James dipped his head to examine the piece. The article featured a photo of Nathan and Lisa sharing a laugh and chatting in the same frame. In terms of aesthetics, it was truly disgusting. Its mere appearance irritated him. He carelessly hurled the article behind him. Cursing under his breath, he pondered, what terrible judgment do these people possess? Do they appear like they might be together? The truth about her grief over another man. Chapter 39. Sure enough, the news gradually died down over the next 2 days. However, the after effects lingered. Lisa's Weibo page was still being inundated with visitors. Contrary to projections, her fan count had been steadily increasing, so at least she had not been punished for nothing. She also had some recognition as an actor for the first time, which counted as her having some presence for the first time. Right at this point, Lisa's stepmother quickly gave her a call and said, "Your elder sister's engagement party with Ryan is this weekend. You can set aside some time to come, right?" Lisa's heart stopped. Were they going to be formally engaged? Her hand, which held her phone, trembled slightly. Still, she forced herself to put up a facade of tranquility. She said to Hannah through the phone, "Why do I need to go?" "Stepmother, are you inviting me right now?" Of course, she did not want to go. She did not want to return home to witness the filthy expressions of her family members, nor did she want to watch Ryan ultimately marrying someone else. Hannah snorted and replied, "Why? You dare not to come? Could it be that you still have some sentiments for Ryan? If that's the case, all the more you should come. Come and take a look so that it's easier for you to give up completely." "Stepmother, I can't do anything about it either if you insist on putting it that way." "Ayo. Is it just my words, or is it actually what you're thinking inside? I observe that you've really been working hard these past days to compete with Olivia. You even went to cotton up to Nathan so that you would be in the headlines. What a pity that Nathan could not be bothered with you at all." It took him barely 2 days to push down the news. Olivia's wedding this time will surely be in the headlines. It'll easily provide you some opportunity to display your face. Won't you come and freeload for the main page? As Lisa listened to Hannah's words, she thought to herself that she had a really rich imagination. Although she did not know if it was Nathan who had pushed down the news, she could confirm that Nathan was certainly not as Hannah had portrayed. Finally, Hannah said, "Anyway, it's up to you whether or not you want to come. If you really believe that you don't want to see Ryan marry Olivia, then don't come." Lisa listened as she hung up the phone. She sat there and unwittingly got into a trance for a long duration. She sat there till James came in and observed Lisa staring blankly ahead. He walked over to her and said, "What happened? Are you wounded anywhere?" Lisa glanced at James. "To be honest, I kind of sympathize with Emily." James's eyes was stormy as he glanced at Lisa. He did not know why she had suddenly brought up Emily. What happened to her? Lisa sat there embracing a pillow. "She will definitely be very sad to see me together with you. Watching someone she loves getting together with someone else, but not being able to do anything while still having to look to be magnanimous and uninterested, is incredibly upsetting. In actuality, maybe it saddens and haunts her at night, so much so that she cries alone under the blankets. But still, you're by another woman's side." As Lisa uttered this, she lowered her eyes to hide them. Her long lashes were like half-open sandalwood fans that delicately shrouded her exquisite eyes. Her porcelain white face was tinted with bitterness, and her melancholy was like a murmuring stream that gradually overwhelmed that pair of ordinarily clear and brilliant eyes. She smiled. Yet although her brow bent, it made one feel sensitive and protective towards her. She seemed to be talking about Emily, but she herself began to get burdened down with sorrow. As James stared into her eyes, he felt slightly bitter for some reason. He kept feeling like she was not talking about Emily, but about herself. James could not help but grimace and add, "You don't need to be concerned about matters between me and Emily." Lisa snorted and gazed at James. "Indeed, all men are bad. James growled at her before standing up and marching away. She really was a heartless woman. However, his brow still furrowed up. He understood that something was amiss with her, and he wanted to know what exactly had happened to her. In the study area, he stared at Ethan. "How's your search coming along?" Ethan continued, "Sir, although I don't know if this is what you're looking for, it seems that the Carter family's eldest daughter, Olivia, and the Reed family's young master, Ryan, are getting engaged this weekend." Ryan? Was that the man who she had always liked? James's brow furrowed severely. The gloomy expression on his face was deeply concealed. Sure enough, she was not talking about Emily and him earlier, but about that man. Could it be that she was still unhappy over that man? James did not know why he felt even more anxious. Every day she was on the bed and always slept sooner than him. Yet she still had the guts to mention that she tossed and turned at night while crying under the blanket. He did not know why he started to feel more and more irritated. He gestured at Ethan to leave. Ethan said, "Sir, then get out." Shocked, Ethan floundered and left frantically. Although Lisa did not want to go, her rage did not disappear from thinking about it. It became more clear when she thought about how Hannah had purposefully provoked her. While she understood that she had done it on purpose, Lisa still could not help but fall for it. Thus, Lisa decided to attend the ceremony to have a look. She sought to borrow a formal dress through the firm, and when Sarah heard that she required it to attend to Olivia's wedding, she quickly and generously agreed to assist buy her a fantastic piece. Because Olivia was, after all, a celebrity, her wedding with Ryan was a hot topic for a great number of people. It was probable that quite a few media sources will be there on that day. They might take advantage of the predicament and embrace the opportunity for exposure. Of course, Sarah was incredibly thrilled. On the day of the engagement, the skies were boundlessly clear. However, Lisa's mood was instead so downcrest that it looked to have struck rock bottom. She came to the engagement location in a car, and when she alighted, she observed a few large words gleaming brightly at the amazing and sumptuous entrance of the hotel. The words were, "May Olivia and Ryan live a long and happy life together. A long and happy life together." Swallowing her bitterness, she told herself not to look at him again and not to think about him again. After today, he was no longer going to be the kid she dreamed of in her early years, but someone else's fiancé. Chapter 40. How could you just provoke Nathan? Lisa was still seated in the wheelchair, smiling dryly and not knowing how to answer these concerns. She did not expect to meet reporters here. She donned a blue formal dress that was somewhat off-shoulder in a sling pattern. Natural yet generous. It made her look very fresh and appealing. Her hair was wrapped up high, displaying her neck with exquisite, delicate lines. Emily fumed with rage. She was convinced that Lisa was doing this on purpose. She still dared to pretend that she had no interest in Ryan. At last, security withheld the journalists, and Lisa was finally permitted to go in. She noticed Emily wearing a cheerful attire immediately. It was as if she just had to wear every valuable thing she possessed in order to show off her wealth. Glaring at Lisa, she remarked, "Hey, you stated it was inconvenient for you to walk. Didn't I tell you that you didn't have to come?" Lisa snorted, "Oh, did you? But how can I not come to my sister's engagement?" Emily said, "Look at you, you pitiful thing. The second you came, you immediately stole the attention of the reporters. Of course, with you in a wheelchair, it's not hard to notice." Was Emily hinting that Lisa purposely sat in a wheelchair to attract attention? Lisa was too lazy to explain. She chuckled as she sat in her wheelchair. "I didn't expect reporters to be here, stepmother. You guys made the occasion such a massive thing that it drew the press." Thanks to Olivia's engagement, I have the opportunity to get my own headline. Isn't that what you said? That I would have my own headline? You. Emily had certainly told Lisa that, but it was sarcasm. Little did she know that the reporters not only knew Lisa, but also had a genuine interest in her. Naturally, Emily had exaggerated Nathan's prominent position. Any talk about him definitely stayed long. Very well, you're right. Since your sister is so famous, it's only proper for her to look after you. She could only say this while glaring at Lisa, thinking that no matter what, the star of today was Olivia. After a while, she arranged for Lisa to be in a corner where no one would notice her or allow her to steal the spotlight. At that moment, Ryan strolled out from a distance. Ryan looked really stunning today, especially in his all-white suit. Naturally, as the male protagonist of the day, he embodied the ideal of Prince Charming. He became the center of attention the moment he stepped out. He had a head start in life because he was a member of the Ryan family. From the moment of his birth, he was destined to achieve greatness. He was about to pop the question to the stunning, hot, and famous Olivia today. It made a lot of people envious. From a distance, Lisa beheld Ryan and reflected on how handsome he appeared. She felt him peer over as well, and she couldn't tear her eyes away from his. With a heavy heart, she quickly got better. One last glimpse, one last peek. It was a sorrow that he had to be with Olivia. If it was someone else, offering her blessings would have been a lot easy, but she was concerned because it was Olivia. How could she give her real congratulations? When Ryan spotted Lisa, his eyes brightened up, and he felt a little awkward. She was in a wheelchair, yet she still looked so lovely. She seemed to look even lovelier than the last time he saw her, even if it was not long before. It was as if she was a butterfly still metamorphosing in her chrysalis, becoming more exquisite by the day. One day she was finally going to explode out of her shell. Then he heard someone exclaim from the side, "Isn't that Lisa?" Lisa? Who is that? It's the rumored girlfriend of Nathan. Oh, so that's her. Was she not just being, sensational? Yes, the news has died down, but she looks way better in real life than on TV. Ryan strained his eyes to look and thought that she certainly looked finer in real life. However, his heart still felt uneasy when he thought of the murmurs between her and Nathan. He assumed that the tales should have gone quickly and never anticipated them to still be generating ripples. At that moment, the engagement banquet was supposed to start soon. Ryan was going to find Lisa when Olivia emerged from a distance. Olivia wore a white gown that made her look like a pure angel. Ryan grinned and went to her. The engagement banquet was commencing soon. The wonderful engagement luncheon was a demonstration of the strength of the Ryan family and the Carter family. The uniting of the two families was clearly not a little issue. With so many reporters around, they had no space for flaws. Lisa, who was forced to sit at a corner, glanced ahead at Ryan and Olivia. The couple was standing in the front and were accepting well wishes from the guests. Ryan looked at Olivia adoringly and could not help but be moved. Holding Olivia's hand, he said, "I will treat you well forever." Olivia was reduced to tears. The lovely and adorable engagement was like a perfect fairy tale. Meanwhile, Lisa was only an unnoticeable supporting character in this story. Although she sat there with a bitter heart, she had already accepted it. During the engagement, Ryan only had eyes for Olivia. When all was over and Olivia went for an interview, Ryan immediately remembered that he had not met Lisa. After scanning the area, he finally discovered her in a corner. Ryan walked approaching Lisa and smiled at her. He looked at her outfit and thought that she was growing more and more feminine. "Lisa, why are you hiding so far away?" he asked. Lisa stared at Ryan and giggled, secretly thinking that she had not picked this position. Her stepmother was the one who had made her sit there. Then again, even in the Carter family, she was insignificant. It was no surprise that her stepmother would place her there. Ryan looked at Lisa and stated, "I wanted to ask what was going on about that rumor between you and Nathan." Lisa said quietly, "Why would you pay attention to that too?" Ryan stated with a chuckle, "Even if I didn't want to, I was getting bombarded by the news every day." Lisa laughed embarrassingly. "Those are merely rumors." Ryan said, "I do hope so. However, you best remain far away from such dude. I have told you that he is not that simple. Lisa remarked. I barely know him. He's just a friend, and it's nothing like what was mentioned in the article. Ryan listened and nodded. That's good to hear. I'm merely concerned that it would not be good if a stupid lady like you was cheated. Lisa could only smile bitterly. Yes, she was silly. Just then, Richard thought to notice Lisa and Ryan speaking sweetly together from afar. His brows wrinkled. This Lisa is becoming more brash these days. What would others think if they saw her interacting with her brother-in-law in such a manner? Richard brazenly strolled over to them. Smiling at Ryan, he replied pleasantly, Let me have a word with Lisa. It was a God-given right for a parent to talk with his daughter, so naturally Ryan quickly stood up. Oh, sure, uncle. You two enjoy your chat. Once Ryan left, Richard's face clouded. Lisa, what is going on with you? How did you wind up having rumors with Nathan? Nathan again. Lisa laughed coldly and answered to her father. They were just rumors. What's wrong? Richard's face quickly hardened by her attitude. What's wrong? You tell me what's wrong. I gave you the chance to marry, but you turned it down and angered the Smith family, leaving us to clean up your mess. Do you know how much the Smith family has? You ran away and provoked people. I know you want to be famous, but Nathan is not someone to be trifled with. Seriously, just for fame, you're willing to do anything. One day you will pay for it, and only then will you regret it.